Good evening. Here are tonight's top stories. Police are investigating the fatal shooting of a mechanic on Leopold Street, while a car accident claims the life of a West Coast Berbice resident. In Buxton, a hit-and-run turns deadly, and the OPR is probing a shooting on Robb Street. A motorcyclist has died in a West Bank Demerara accident, with the driver surrendering hours later. Hague residents assist police in capturing a robbery suspect, while the hunt continues for accomplices. A federal judge has ruled against Donald Trump for the unauthorized use of Eddy Grant's Electric Avenue in a 2020 campaign video. Finally, a peacemaker is fatally stabbed during Amerindian Heritage celebrations at Kairuni. Stay tuned for updates. OPR investigating shooting incident on Robb Street, involving police and businessman. The Office of Professional Responsibility, OPR, has launched an investigation into a shooting incident that occurred in the early hours of September 14, 2024, on Robb Street, Georgetown, near a popular nightclub. The incident resulted in 27-year-old businessman Castle Nurse being injured. According to initial reports, the shooting took place at approximately 1:50 HRS during a confrontation between a police anti-crime patrol and two motorcyclists who were acting suspiciously around the Border Market area. The patrol, led by a gazetted officer and other ranks, responded to the situation after receiving information about the suspicious activity. Upon approaching the suspects, the motorcyclists fled the scene, heading down Robb Street with the police in pursuit. One of the fleeing suspects discharged several rounds at the ranks. In response, one of the officers returned fire using his service pistol. Unfortunately, during the exchange of gunfire, Castle Nurse, a bystander who was standing next to his motorcar parked outside the nightclub, was shot in the right foot. He was immediately transported to the Georgetown Public Hospital for medical treatment, where his condition is reported as stable. The OPR is actively investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident, including the actions of both the suspects and the police officers involved. Further updates will be provided as the investigation progresses. Motorcyclist dies in West Bank Demerara accident. Driver surrenders to police hours later. A tragic accident on the West Bank Demerara, WBD, public road, has claimed the life of 27-year-old motorcyclist Regan Martin. The driver responsible for the fatal crash turned himself into police custody this morning, several hours after fleeing the scene. The incident occurred at approximately 2:30 HRS today, Sunday, September 15, 2024, on the Versailles Public Road, in the vicinity of the health center. Regan Martin, a resident of Lot 532 First Avenue, Parfait Harmony, WBD, was riding his motorcycle, registration number #CL4994, when he was struck by motorcar #PTT2444, which was reportedly speeding southbound on Versailles Public Road. According to police reports, the driver of the motorcar lost control and collided with Martin, who was traveling north along the western side of the road. The force of the impact caused Martin to be thrown from his motorcycle onto the grass parapet, where he tragically succumbed to his injuries. The motorcar continued to plow through bushes on the western parapet before coming to rest in a trench, partially submerged. The driver then exited the vehicle and fled the scene of the accident. Later this morning, the driver, a 34-year-old resident of Independence Street, La Grange, WBD, voluntarily surrendered to police, accompanied by his attorney. He is currently in police custody, and investigations are ongoing. Regan Martin's untimely death has left family, friends, and the wider community in mourning. Authorities are urging motorists to exercise caution and adhere to speed limits to prevent such tragedies. Fatal car accident claims life of West Coast Berbice resident. The Guyana police force is investigating a fatal accident that occurred at approximately 3 a.m. this morning on the public road at Cottage, Mahakoni, East Coast Demerara. The tragic incident resulted in the death of 28-year-old Colin Dowden, a resident of Lot 2 Bellevue, West Coast Berbice. The accident involved a motorcar with license plate #PJJ2006, driven by 23-year-old Shaquem Booker of Seafield, West Coast Berbice. According to initial reports, the vehicle was traveling east along the Cottage Public Road at a high speed when Booker lost control, causing the car to veer off the southern side of the road. The vehicle crashed into a concrete and mesh fence before colliding with a utility pole. As a result of the crash, Booker and three passengers, Ron Robertson, 36, of number 42 Village, West Coast Berbice, Colin Dowden, 28, of Lot 2 Bellevue, West Coast Berbice, and Tyrese McDonald, 17, of Seafield, West Coast Berbice, sustained injuries. Emergency services transported all 4 individuals to the Mahakoni Public Hospital. Upon arrival, Colin Dowden was pronounced dead by the attending doctor. The driver, Shaquem Booker, along with Ron Robertson and Tyrese McDonald, were treated and later transferred to Georgetown Public Hospital for further medical care. Dowden's body has been transported to Bailey's Funeral Home, where a post-mortem examination will be conducted. Investigations into the accident are ongoing, and the Guyana Police Force urges all motorists to exercise caution on the roadways, particularly when driving at high speeds. Police investigating hit-and-run fatal accident at Buxton. The Guyana Police Force is investigating a fatal hit-and-run accident that occurred around 11 p.m. on Friday, September 13, 2024, in the vicinity of Church of God Road, Buxton, East Coast Demerara. The tragic incident resulted in the death of 62-year-old pedestrian Eddy Slough, a resident of Lot 8 Vigilance South, East Coast Demerara. According to initial reports, Slough was crossing the road from the southern side to the northern side when minibus #BAC 4129, which was traveling east at a high speed, collided with him. The impact dragged Slough approximately 100 feet from the point of contact. The driver of the minibus fled the scene immediately after the accident. Emergency medical technicians, EMTs, were called to the scene and, upon arrival, pronounced Slough dead. His body was later transported to Memorial Gardens Mortuary by Memorial Funeral Home, where a post-mortem examination will be conducted. The police are continuing their investigations and are urging anyone with information regarding the identity of the driver or the whereabouts of minibus #BAC 4129 to come forward to assist with the investigation. Peacemaker fatally stabbed during Amerindian Heritage celebrations at Kairuni. Tragedy struck during the Amerindian Heritage celebrations at Kairuni, located along the Linden-Soesdijk Highway, leaving 1 man dead and 2 others seriously injured following a violent altercation. The deceased has been identified as 24-year-old Harry Brown, who succumbed to stab wounds inflicted during an attempt to break up a brawl. Brown sustained injuries to his abdomen and right hand during the incident, which occurred in the early hours of today. The other victims, identified only as Trayvon and Ajay, were also stabbed during the confrontation and are currently receiving treatment at the Georgetown Public Hospital. Both men are reported to be in serious condition. According to initial reports, the village of Kairuni was celebrating its annual Amerindian Heritage Day on Saturday evening, with a cultural presentation beginning around 1730 and concluding by 2030. The event was held under the patronage of village chairman Ramesh Ramit. Following the cultural show, music continued to play, and alcohol was being consumed by several attendees. Ramit stated that he was informed of the stabbing incident around 7 o'clock this morning. A 23-year-old female witness told investigators that she and Brown arrived at the celebrations at approximately 1900 hours on Saturday and began drinking. A fight reportedly broke out shortly afterward, and Brown intervened in an effort to make peace but was attacked by the suspect, who stabbed him multiple times in the abdomen. Trayvon and Ajay, who were with Brown at the time, were also attacked and suffered stab wounds to their abdomens. The suspect, who is also from Kairuni village, fled the scene following the incident. The murder weapon was reportedly recovered some distance from the crime scene. The police are currently conducting an active manhunt for the suspect, and investigations are ongoing. Hague residents assist police in capturing armed robbery suspect. Hunt continues for 3 accomplices. In a remarkable display of community support, residents of Hague, West Coast Demerara, aided the police in capturing an armed robbery suspect involved in a daring daylight heist. The suspect, who has since confessed to the crime and identified his 3 accomplices, was apprehended following the robbery of a businesswoman's home in Middle Street, Roomzate. The robbery, which occurred at approximately 12:40 p.m. on Friday, September 13, 2024, saw 4 suspects, 3 of whom were armed with handguns, relieve the businesswoman and her 2 workers, both goldsmiths, of several valuable items, including gold jewelry and cell phones. According to police reports, the 52-year-old businesswoman was in her kitchen when 3 armed suspects entered her home through the back door, holding her at gunpoint and threatening her not to make a sound. The suspects then proceeded to her goldsmith workshop, located on the lower flat of her house, where they met her 2 workers, aged 48 and 23, and demanded more gold and money. During the robbery, one of the suspects fired a shot in the businesswoman's direction, drawing the attention of nearby residents. As the suspects attempted to flee the scene in a white Allian motor car, several residents blocked the road, forcing the vehicle to stop. The 4 suspects, realizing their escape was cut off, abandoned the car and fled on foot towards the Roomzate backlands. Police officers from Regional Division No. 3 responded swiftly, discovering a man tied up in the back seat of the abandoned vehicle. The individual, later identified as 50-year-old fireman and taxi driver Garfield Benjamin, had been forced into the car by the suspects after being approached while working as a taxi driver in Vreed en Hoop. He explained to police that the suspects had commandeered his vehicle, tied him up, and left him in the back seat while they executed the robbery. Thanks to the timely intervention of the Hague residents, one of the 4 suspects was captured shortly after the robbery. The suspect, now in custody, has corroborated Benjamin's account and provided information on his 3 accomplices, leading to an ongoing police manhunt. Police continue to investigate and are acting on the information provided by the captured suspect as they work to bring the remaining individuals to justice. Police investigating fatal shooting of Leopold Street mechanic. The Guyana police force is investigating the alleged murder of Troy Rodriguez, also known as Kelly, a 23-year-old mechanic from Lot 165 Leopold Street, Work and Rust, Georgetown. The incident took place at approximately 7:15 p.m. yesterday, Friday, at Vlissingen Square, between West Ruimveldt Front Road and Mandela Avenue. According to reports, a 25-year-old construction worker from West Ruimveldt was in his backyard when he heard 2 loud explosions that resembled gunshots. Upon investigating, he saw a man lying motionless on the road. He quickly rushed out to the scene, where a small crowd had gathered, and discovered Rodriguez's lifeless body in a pool of blood. Rodriguez was dressed in a green jersey, blue shorts, black slippers, and a black surgical mask. Upon examination, a small circular wound was found on his forehead, suggesting a gunshot injury. However, no spent shell was recovered from the scene. The body has been transported to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC, mortuary, where a post-mortem examination will be conducted. Investigators have questioned several individuals in the area, and inquiries into the incident are ongoing. The Guyana police force urges anyone with information related to this incident to come forward to assist with the investigation. Federal judge rules against Donald Trump for unauthorized use of Eddy Grant's Electric Avenue in 2020 campaign video. A federal judge has ruled that former President Donald Trump infringed on British Guyanese musician Eddy Grant's copyrights by using his 1982 hit song, Electric Avenue, without permission in a 2020 campaign video. The ruling, delivered on Friday, September 13, 2024, brings to a close a years-old lawsuit in which Grant accused Trump of unauthorized use of his iconic track. The lawsuit stems from a 2020 social media video shared by Trump's campaign that used Electric Avenue to criticize then-presidential candidate Joe Biden. Grant, shocked by the unauthorized use of his song, promptly filed a lawsuit, asserting his rights as the creator of the popular track. In the ruling, U.S. District Judge John G. Coeltel rejected Trump's defense that the video fell under the fair use doctrine, a legal provision that permits the limited use of copyrighted works under specific conditions. The judge determined that the video had made no meaningful transformation of Grant's work, stating that it amounted to wholesale copying for political purposes. In this case, the video has a very low degree of transformativeness, if any at all, wrote Judge Coeltel. The video is best described as a wholesale copying of music to accompany a political campaign ad. Grant's attorney, Brian D. Kaplan, expressed satisfaction with the court's decision. As a staunch believer in artists' rights, Mr. Grant is gratified by the ruling. The decision reaffirms that no one, not even politicians, is above the law when it comes to copyright infringement, Kaplan stated. While the ruling establishes Trump's liability, it does not yet determine the amount in damages Trump must pay Grant. That will be resolved in future court proceedings. This case is just one among many in which Trump has faced backlash from musicians over unauthorized use of their music during his campaigns. Over the years, artists such as Beyoncé, the Foo Fighters, and Celine Dion, as well as the estates of Sinead O'Connor and Isaac Hayes, have either protested or taken legal action against Trump's use of their work. For now, Grant's victory stands as a significant moment in the ongoing fight for artists' rights and their ability to protect their creative output.